Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Greater Houston Partnership's 2012 annual meeting. Please rise for the singing of our national anthem, performed by Neha Verma.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Senior Pastor of Windsor Village United Methodist Church, Pastor Kirby John Caldwell.
Have you ever heard the national anthem sung any better, particularly by a high school student? Woo! Let us assume an attitude of prayer. O Lord our God, the supply and supplier of every good and perfect gift, how excellent is your name in all the earth. For the members and for the mission of the Greater Houston Partnership, for the meal which we are about to receive, and for the manifestations of your greatness and your grace, which you will pour into us and through us during this calendar year, we thank you, and we bless your holy name. And let the people of God say amen. And now it's my honor to introduce and bring to the platform the CEO and President of the Greater Houston Partnership, Jeff Mosley.
Please be seated. Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Mosley, President, CEO of the Greater Houston Partnership. And on behalf of our Board of Directors, I want to welcome each of you to the 2012 Greater Houston Partnership Annual Meeting. And what a delight it is to be here with you at your meeting. That's right. This really is your meeting. And you probably noticed that as you entered, there was actually a red carpet out there welcoming you as our members. It's because of you, our members, that we have an annual meeting, and you are the stars of the show. And we want to make sure that you're fully aware of how important your role is here at GHP. But first of all, we wanted to say a huge thank you to our entertainment, Lee's Golden Dragon, for their wonderful New Year's performance. What a wonderful way to kick off our 2012 annual meeting. And we also say a huge thank you to Ms. Neha Verma for performing the national anthem for us today. Yes, Neha is an honors student at the John Cooper School in the Woodlands. And of course, we say thanks to our very own board leader, Pastor Kirby John Caldwell, senior pastor from Windsor Village United Methodist, for leading us in the invocation. Let's say thanks to all of these. Thank you, Pastor Caldwell. Thank you, Neha. Thank you, Golden Dragon. Today's event would not be possible without wonderful, warm support of our sponsors. Would you please take a moment to watch this short video It thanks our sponsors, but it also says thank you to all of you who are serving as elected office holders and to our wonderful consular corps. And then following this video, lunch will be served.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Greater Houston Partnership would like to thank our sponsors, whose monetary gifts make events such as today's annual meeting a wonderful experience. They also allow GHP to continue being member-driven, working on your behalf. This afternoon of celebration is possible thanks to some very generous sponsors, including our executive partners, AT&T, BP, CenterPoint Energy, Chevron, ConocoPhillips, ExxonMobil, JP Morgan Chase, Reliant, an NRG company, and Shell Oil. Our gold sponsors, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, Blue Lance, and Waste Management. Our silver sponsors, Kroger Company, Spectra Energy, and Cisco Corporation. And our contributing bronze sponsors, Amegy Bank, Andrews Kurth LLP, Camden Property Trust, Comcast Cable Communications Incorporated, Deloitte, the Friedkin Group, Gensler, Haynes & Boone LLP, HSBC Bank, Jones Lang LaSalle Americas Incorporated, Memorial Hermann Healthcare System, PwC, United Continental Holdings, WCW International Incorporated, and Wells Fargo. We also extend our utmost appreciation to this year's underwriters, including our program underwriter, Stage Stores, this year's networking cafe underwriter, Ernst & Young, and our photography underwriter, Pinnell Kerr Foster of Texas PC. We would also like to thank our production partner, Vision Production Group, and our staging partner, J&S Audiovisual Incorporated. Please join us in giving a special thanks to each of this year's sponsors and underwriters. Let's give a big round of applause in thanks to our sponsors. The Greater Houston Partnership would also like to take a moment to extend a sincere and special thank you to the elected and appointed officials in our 10-county region for helping our community remain a solid foundation for business development, sustainable growth, and unlimited opportunity. The Greater Houston Partnership would also like to thank all members of the Consular Corporation for the hard work they do in representing their selected countries in Houston. Because of their leadership, we are able to foster strong international relationships that help establish the Houston region as a leading gateway to global markets. Would all members of the Consular Corporation, as well as our elected and appointed officials, please rise and be recognized. Thank you.
This year, GHP is proud to continue offering our members unique opportunities to explore other global communities through World Discovery Tours. In 2012, we'll be taking 2 trips to China, a trip to Brazil, and friends, a trip to Cuba. That's right, Cuba. GHP will be one of the first groups to have a legal team of U.S. tourists into Cuba in more than 50 years. Our inaugural World Discovery Tour group to China reported having a fabulous time. Don't take my word for it. Check out this video.
The Greater Houston Partnership's World Discovery Tours present an exciting opportunity for amazing and unforgettable travel experiences around the world. Join fellow GHP members and their guests in a global travel experience that will transform your GHP relationships into lifelong business partners and friends. On GHP's World Discovery Guided Tours, you'll immerse yourself in local traditions, cultures, sights and sounds, education of exotic and fascinating foreign lands. You'll explore the people, their culture and their history, both ancient and modern. 2012 World Discovery Tours include trips to Houston's 4th and 5th largest trading partners, China and Brazil. We are especially excited to bring you Cuba, the largest island in the Caribbean and a land of wonder for visitors. Join GHP on a World Discovery Tour and you'll find adventure at every turn. You'll see a snapshot of each country's economic drivers and their way of life. World Discovery Tour packages include the amazing sights and sounds of 4 cities in China, 2 cities in Brazil, and 2 cities in Cuba. You'll begin the tour with fellow GHP members and return as lifelong friends. Join GHP for a journey of a lifetime filled with memories and laughter. Come, discover the world with the Greater Houston Partnership. Book your World Discovery Tour now. Sponsorship packages are available for this highly targeted audience.
For those of you interested in getting more information about World Discovery Tours, some of our Team GHP will be in the entryway outside of this banquet hall after the meeting. But there's more. March 22nd, the Greater Houston Partnership will host both Democratic and Republican U.S. Senate candidates in a televised debate. We're pleased to team up with the Houston Public Media to provide this very important forum. And there's even more. I know I sound like one of those as seen on TV commercials, but today we have a grand opening of the GHP store. So beginning today, you will be able to purchase articles of clothing, numerous accessories, all featuring our wonderful GHP logo. So right now, all right, take out your smartphones, check out the GHP store at houston.org, and make a purchase and make GHP history. Now, you might recall that last year we surveyed and talked to you about your opinions on how to make GHP membership even better. And whether you represent a Fortune 500 company or you're representing yourself, we are listening to you. Throughout 2012, we're going to continue changing the way we do things based on what you tell us. For example, you asked for more networking. We responded with Networking Cafe, which will be provided before all of our major events. I hope each of you had a chance today to take advantage of the Ernst & Young sponsored Network Cafe prior to coming into this banquet hall. Not too many years ago, our Houston region was celebrating its 1 millionth resident. And Jesse Jones said on that occasion, "With the fine spirit of citizenship and driving ambition with which Houston is so amply possessed, there's no limit to its future greatness." Can you guess the year? Well, this was in 1954. But believe me, friends, this same spirit is true today. Let's just take a look at Houston 2011, which was marked with great accomplishments and recognitions for our region, including being named Fast Company magazine Fast City of the Year. And as other parts of our nation, unfortunately, continue to struggle out of the recession, our Houston regional economy continues to be a pace setter. We were the very last major metropolitan area to go into the recession, but we were the very first major metropolitan area to come out of the recession. And we know in Texas, it's not bragging if it's a fact. Just take a look at these job numbers. In November, we saw our region reach the point where we regained more than 108% of the jobs that we lost in the recent recession. And during our recovery, we've regained 131,400 jobs. Yeah, we can applaud. That is incredible. Last year, GHP joined the Port of Houston in a visit to Panama to get a first-hand perspective of the Panama Canal expansion. This is a game changer for our region. The expanded Panama Canal will allow for much larger container vessels to pass through and dramatically increase the amount of tonnage to our regional ports. More trade means more jobs, means more paychecks, means a stronger tax base. We didn't limit our international focus to the Western Hemisphere. GHP hosted 2 trade missions to China, building on a January visit by a delegation of Chinese business leaders. We also visited Korea. This was to position our region related to the U.S. government passing free trade agreements with Korea. Other trade missions include Turkey, France, Germany, Brazil, and Cuba. And with increasing oil production and revenues, the continent of Africa is primed to become a major world player, and the partnership wants to make sure that Houston is in that game. Our Emerging Business Opportunities Africa Subcommittee has been focused on identifying and pursuing trade opportunities for all of you, our members. And GHP was privileged to host 3 world leaders from Africa. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, the Honorable Joseph N. Boakai, the Vice President of Liberia, and His Excellency Jacob Zuma, the President of South Africa. And these visits by world leaders from growing energy-producing nations solidifies Houston's reputation as energy capital of the world. Opportunity Houston continues to give us, quite frankly, an unfair advantage by generating leads that we then turn over to our economic development allies throughout the 10-county region. You'll find more information about Opportunity Houston's record-breaking year inside our annual report, which each of you have at the table. And since we're family, may I tell you a little secret? Stay tuned. Opportunity Houston 2.0. There will be some important announcements coming later this year. Last year, we also partnered with Berenice Parker and the City of Houston, the Houston Community College, and other like-minded organizations to support Goldman Sachs' 10,000 Small Business Initiative. This is only one of 4 in the U.S. supporting small businesses with loans as well as continued education opportunities. We really appreciate the privilege of working with Mayor Parker and the City Council to build the City of Houston. And we certainly will continue to work with Judge Ed Emmett and the Harris County Commissioners on infrastructure projects and economic development, laying the groundwork for future growth. Now, even though we began 2011 with more questions than answers, our economy emerged in better shape than hoped. Today, we're even more bullish than ever that GHP and our elected office holders and our business leaders and all of us collectively will continue to work to build the most business-friendly destination in the United States. We couldn't accomplish anything, though, without our dedicated team of professionals. Thank you, Team GHP, for all your hard work in 2011. And while our staff plays a vital role in what we accomplish, we certainly wouldn't be successful without our volunteers called our Board of Directors. This year, our board members worked tirelessly to give us direction during the state legislative session and the federal legislative session, and we appreciate their dedication. Yeah, just as Jesse H. Jones looked to this region's future greatness, we also look to the future and we see equal success. We thank our friends at the Center for Houston's Future Special thanks to my colleague, Catherine Mossbacher, and incoming Chair James Calloway, and the entire Center for Houston's Future team for what they do to position our region favorably. Congratulations, Center for Houston's Future, on the $1.5 million grant from the Houston Endowment. We can applaud on that one. But what would a nonprofit organization like GHP be without our volunteers? Well, the answer is we wouldn't be. Volunteers really are the heart of GHP, and my heartfelt gratitude goes to each of you who have donated your time and your talent to make us the premier business organization in America. From our working board of directors to our committee and task force members, our ambassadors, our young professionals, our hype members, all of you who give so much of your time and work to build up the Houston region, we say thank you. And as I do every year, yes, thank you very much, volunteers. And personally, as I do each year during the annual meeting, I wanted to thank the board and each of you as members for letting me be a part of Team GHP. I'm honored and I'm humbled to serve as president and CEO of GHP. And I could not continue to play this role without the strong support and love of my life, my wonderful wife, Jackie, who is here today. Thank you, darling. I love you. And last but certainly not least, may I say a warm thank you to our outgoing Chairman Larry Kellner, for his vision and hard work. Now, let's think about this, friends. I have really no business introducing Larry to a banquet hall full of Continental frequent flyers who have watched him over the many years on his pre-flight movie. But I'm going to give it a stab. What a distinct and professional pleasure for me to have had the opportunity to work, and I'm going to emphasize this, and to learn from Larry Kellner. Larry has served, as many of us know, for the last half-decade as Continental Chairman and CEO. He's currently president of Emerald Creek Group, which is a Houston-based private equity firm. He serves nationally on other boards, the Boeing Company, Marriott International, Chubb Corporation, Boy Scouts of America. And Larry's work with numerous civic organizations right here in our area shows his enormous passion for Houston. And Larry and his wife, Susan, have been extremely active in our community and work tirelessly related to public education. In fact, I want to pause here and say thanks to Susan for loaning Larry to us this year. But Larry also serves on the Rice University Board of Trustees, on Methodist Hospital Board, the YMCA of Greater Houston, and so you can see why we feel so fortunate that he would give us a year of his time and his leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, Chairman Larry Kellner. Chairman.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Before I get into my remarks, we actually have a little business to do. That's why it's an annual meeting. And I would ask those members who are on the 2012 slate of board nominees if you'd please stand. These nominees were solicited for membership from the partnership. Our nominating committee then took that group down and said, advanced a group. That was approved by the board and then sent out via proxy. And so I'd like all those to stand. I'd like to thank those who are willing to serve on our 2012 board. There are sufficient proxies to represent a quorum. And in the program sent to you and on the screen is the list of nominees. Each member company is entitled to one vote. I would ask all in favor of these nominees to say aye. All opposed say nay. I think the ayes have it. There we go. Tony, congratulations, you're the new chairman. David, you're the new vice chairman. And to our nominees, congratulations. Before I get to my remarks, I want to specifically thank a couple of people who have made this year work. And I'll start with the partnership staff. They have just been outstanding, led by Jeff, but the entire team, whether it's, you look across our leadership, Susan Azamaikas, Craig Richards, Ron Jeffers, Micah Hirschfield, Lillian McLean, Cody Sutton, you name it, as you look across the group, and I'm sure I missed somebody in that, but the senior leadership, you email them at 10 o'clock at night, they send it right back. It's just an amazing team, amazing dedication to make Houston great, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I also want to thank Kirby John Caldwell, who did the invocation. Kirby John served on the Continental Board the entire time I was chairman and CEO. He's always been an inspiration to me, and somebody who's got just the right guiding principles in life and at the same time understands how to bring those into the business world. Kirby John, we're blessed to have you in our community. Thank you. I also want to do two other quick thank yous. One, Samantha Munninger, my personal assistant, who actually, you could call her my day wife. She's in charge of my life. She tells me where I'm going next. Samantha's here. Samantha, thank you so much. You did an awesome job and an awesome help to GHP. And last, but certainly first and not least on the list, somebody who grew up in Hawaii while I grew up in South Carolina. We met and got married in California and moved to Houston 17 years ago. And who would have thought a Hawaiian and a South Carolinian meeting in California and getting married there would call Houston home for most of their adult life. Susan, thank you so much for your support and all you've done. So as we look at this year, and you know, Tony's the main event here today, and so I'm going to be pretty brief. I just want to hit a few of the highlights looking backwards. Member-driven, policy-focused, creating prosperity. That's kind of our slogan. That's our work hard, fly right from my Continental days. Member-driven, policy-focused, but it's all about creating prosperity. We're going to listen to our members on policy issues to create prosperity. Where has that gotten us? Well, if you look, Jeff just talked, we were the last major metro area into the recession, the first major metro area out of the recession. That wasn't an accident. But the Brookings Institution came out earlier this week with the 200 largest metro global areas in the world, and talked about where they are on economic development and economic growth and economic trends. And it ranked them 1 to 200. If you look at the top 20, the top 10%, there's only one North American city on that list, Houston. Only one. This is not, that's number one in North America, but if you look in the whole globe of the top 200 metro areas, we're in great company. We're there with Shanghai. We are there with Mumbai. But who's not in that top 20 that you might think is in that top 20? Beijing, Sao Paulo, New York, and Dallas. Opportunity Houston created 25,000 jobs this year in the Houston area that we can track. We don't claim near all the jobs. You saw the numbers were much bigger. But 25,000 Opportunity Houston drove, $750 million capital investment. Thank you, Drayton McLean. Thank you, Dan Bellows. And as equally, thank you, John Hoffmeister, Dan Walterman, Dan Bellows, and Pat Oxford, the previous chairs. We're on the path. The results that occurred the year I was chairman, as we all know from business, had little to do with me being chairman. They had with the path that had been set by Jeff Mosley, our CEO, Opportunity Houston, and my predecessors as chairman, who did just a great job. And Dan Bellow, by the way, with Drayton, co-chairs Opportunity Houston. Let's give them a round of thanks. They have worked for years for that result. Policy focused. I got to tell you, just like Jason Few helped us on economic development, Jim Grace and Kara Kenny were awesome on government policy. That's at a local level, state level, and federal level. Let's talk for a second. Locally, we looked at things like how do we make sure the city stays fiscally strong? We got Gene Dewhurst on a task force with the city helping us look at that, helping make sure we're ready for the future. We looked at issues on transportation. Walt Mischer chaired our transportation committee. Really important that we don't lose the ability to get around this city. If you've been in LA lately, I was there Monday and Tuesday, you know that it makes a big difference to be able to get around a big city. And we don't want to become like LA. We got to make sure whether it's on the metro side, mass transit, whether it's on the highway side, we're doing the right things. Gilbert Garcia, George Grenius at Metro working really hard to make sure we tie that in with the transportation system. I got to thank Ned Holmes. I've got to thank Judge Emmett. They were very engaged, along with Walt, to make sure we got the Grand Parkway going up north of Houston by ExxonMobil's headquarters. And that ties back. We had big economic announcements in that infrastructure side. Continental on Terminal B at the airport, ExxonMobil on their big campus out at the Woodlands. These are big moves forward for our city and driven by the policy. You've got to have transportation to make that work. And we had so many things going on. We continue to work on the crime lab. I want to thank Bob Borkoff for his work on public safety and Ed Wolf on quality of life. We've got a lot of people that are working very hard to make sure we're there and we're moving forward. At a state level, we went into a very tough session. We had several things coming against us, and yet we walked out in better shape than I ever thought we would. On public ed, yes, we're spending $4 billion less on public ed this biennium than we were the last biennium. That's a whole lot better than the $10 billion that was proposed. And Ian Taylor, the Education Committee, a lot of people worked hard on that up in Austin to make sure we got to a funding level that would work. Terry Greer, Duncan Klusman were heavily involved in a lot of discussions about how we could make that work. At the medical center, we're very focused with national health care reform, everything going on with the state budget. Dick Winerty, again, very engaged to make sure we got to the right spot. Grand Parkway, I've already mentioned. Another huge victory, U of H, Carnegie Institute, named it one of the high research institutions. Well on the path to Tier 1, exactly what we talked about. If you look at Texas, there's only 4 Carnegie universities that are recognized as high research. One's in Austin, one's in College Station, and 2 are in Houston. Rice, David LeBron, who's here, and U of H, Frenuc Couture, who's here. We are so blessed to have those institutions. But I want to point out, we don't have just those 2. We've got Texas Southern, we've got Houston Baptist, and we've got University of St. Thomas. We've got 5 core universities that really make a difference in the city, and it's just great to see where we continue to move forward. And in addition, whether you look at tort reform or the enterprise fund, things that happened at GHP that we took an active role on, we made a lot of progress. I want to specifically thank there Lieutenant Governor David Dewhurst, Speaker Joe Strauss, and Governor Rick Perry, who in the midst of a very intense session always had time for GHP, always valued our opinion, and always wanted to hear what we had to say. And by the way, they pointed out to us that the reason that's true is because unlike a lot of organizations who are in Austin lobbying, they knew we were actually there representing our members' views versus our own views, and we're a big powerhouse here in the sense if you think about Dallas, they've got a Dallas chamber, a Fort Worth chamber, and an Arlington chamber. By having one 10-county group that not only does the chamber activities but does foreign trade and economic development, we really have a voice in Austin. We need to use that voice, but I want to thank those 3 for listening. On the federal side, we went up to DC. We made 2 trips this year. We're working energy, NASA, the port. We want sensible immigration reform. We want to make sure there's transportation dollars there. Metro got its funding this year. We want to make sure that health care is handled correctly. Our medical center employs 90,000 people. We have huge opportunities. It's a huge economic engine, but we can't take it for granted. And as Jeff mentioned, we got 3 free trade agreements approved. Kevin Brady worked hard with us to get those done, but they were key for where we got. And so if you look back, our crown jewels, which I talked about a year ago, I've talked about the university system, I've talked about the medical center, the port, the airport, and NASA. If you look at the investments that are occurring there, Panama Canal expanding, again, United expanding at Terminal B, the medical center has got a lot of challenges, as does NASA, and we got to make sure we're there and ready for them. And our universities are growing, but we got to help them and make sure they thrive. The key is, out of all that, we've got to stay member-driven. It is so important that members stay engaged in committees. There are so many of you here today who I haven't mentioned, who during the year I spent time with, worked with, and are out there spending your personal time, your precious personal time, and your money in many cases, working to advance Houston. I want to thank all the board members who took that role and went the extra step to be on the board, and many of them also on the executive committee. And I want to thank people who participate in committees. That participation is key for us getting that feedback. And finally, before I introduce Tony, I want to thank the 3 wise men, as they call them, that have really made this year work. And again, I want to tell you that in my role as chairman, I have done very little other than try to keep us going in the right direction, and have been blessed by so many people working so hard and so many smart people. You know, I always said that Susan will always tell me when I'm screwing up. I want to add to that list, very gratefully, Jeff Mosley, Pat Oxford, and Tony Chase, the 3 wise men. They were working with us. We had passionate debates about how to move Houston forward, about how to do things better. They're great friends. They're great people. They all are of high integrity, and they believe in this city. but a special thank you to Jeff, Pat Oxford, our immediate past chair, and Tony Chase, the vice chair. Now, as my time as chairman comes to an end, I technically think it maybe came to an end at the election a few minutes ago, but we won't be picky since I had the mic. I want to introduce and bring up Tony Chase. Tony is an entrepreneur. He's a savvy, he understands big business too. He's a lawyer. He's a community leader. He's a teacher. If you go back, you know, it's kind of, I went to the University of South Carolina, so I'm always in awe of anybody who just went to Harvard. Tony went to the honors college as an undergraduate, then he got a law degree, then he liked Cambridge so much he thought maybe he'd get an MBA too. So he has 3 Harvard degrees. He's the perfect example. He built up a business, sold it to AT&T. He then formed Chase Source. He has been amazing in what he's been able to do while at the same time teaching at U of H. Served on the Federal Reserve Board up in Dallas. He's done so many things, gotten so many awards, but most importantly, he's been very active in making sure our community works better and that, you know, he's got a family balance and he's got all the pieces to it. I will tell you, he's a model for me. He will be fabulous for GHP. He is a tremendous leader. He also has a great logic. I've watched how he approaches things as we get ready for the transition here. I am so proud that Tony is the new chairman of GHP. Ladies and gentlemen, GHP's new chairman, Tony Chase.
Thank you. Thank you. Larry, stay up here for a moment. Members, like previous chairman of the Greater Houston Partnership, Larry has put in enormous time and effort for the organization. Larry's incredible leadership through one of our most challenging legislative sessions ever toward accomplishing GHP's policy goals is a true symbol of the passion and work ethic he brought to being a volunteer chairman. Larry has been a steady hand through difficult situations and the driving force behind GHP's accomplishments in 2011. He's positively changed many of the ways GHP does its business. On behalf of GHP, I want to thank Larry's wife, Susan, and his family for allowing us to borrow Larry Kellner for the year and allowing us to have his guidance for 2011. Personally, Larry has been a tremendous benefit to me, and I thank you for it and know that there are big shoes to fill. I think all of you would agree that Larry is the modern-day model for a Houston businessman. For all these things and many more, it's my pleasure to present you the Bob Onstead Award and the Chairman's Gavel. I guess GHP will have a shorter chairman this year. Let me welcome all of you once again to Houston's first business meeting of the year. I want to thank all of you, our more than 2,100 members, for taking the time and effort to be part of GHP. We look forward to helping your business grow and prosper. While I'm on the subject of gratitude, there are a couple of people who deserve special recognition. They are my mother, Drusy Chase, and my wife, Dr. Dina Al-Sawayel. I'm also particularly thankful to my father, John Chase. Thank you. Dad couldn't be here today. Kirby John, our fathers, would have loved this. But I want to tell you about the man he is and the man I've become. When I was 10 years old, I went along with him to play golf at Herman Park Golf Course. After hitting a poor shot, we discovered his ball awkwardly sitting against a tree. Foolishly, I offered to move it. In a stern voice, he told me to, quote, always play the shot you've got. And never take unfair advantage. My parents, my wife, my children, my brothers and sisters' families are a huge part of my life, and I appreciate all of their support. Would you all please stand? Naturally, I'd like to thank my family at Chase Source, my former family at Chase Com, my newly acquired GHP family, including Vice Chairman David McClanahan. David, I look forward to the year with you. Jeff Mosley, the head of the GHP team, and the entire GHP team. Houston, as Judge Mosley reminds us, is a city of first. We were the first word spoken from the moon, and we are first in many other respects as well. We're first in metro population growth, first in wage growth, first in growth of resident millionaires, first in new housing construction. These are just a few of the many firsts in which we can all take pride. Importantly, Houston is the first major metro area to recover all the jobs it lost during the recession. Not only first, but unique in this regard. No other metropolitan area in the country can say the same. Houston is a great city by almost any yardstick you care to apply. We're an economic powerhouse, a cultural center, a national and global trendsetter. We are a diverse city. We are on the cutting edge of American demographic trends. We are literally the future face of America. The Census Bureau tells us that if you want to see what America will look like in the year 2060, look at Houston today. 90 different languages are spoken here, and we are host to 94 foreign consulates. We are a thriving, prosperous, and progressive city. In Houston, we have a constellation of prized assets any city in the world would envy. We call them our crown jewels. They include, first, the Texas Medical Center, the largest and most prestigious medical center in the world, employing nearly 100,000 people. Second, our petrochemical industry, including a $15 billion petrochemical complex on the Houston Ship Channel, the largest in the U.S. and the second largest in the world. Third, the Port of Houston, which ranks first in volume of U.S. imports and second in exports. Fourth, our schools and universities. Houston has the 7th largest public school system in the nation, with more than 380,000 students attending our technical schools, colleges, and universities. And the University of Houston is rapidly approaching Tier 1 status. Rice University has been a Tier 1 institution for some time. And they, together with Texas Southern University, which has reemerged under vibrant leadership, represent the Houston region across the globe. We congratulate them, and particularly Rice, in its centennial year for all the fine work they're doing. Fifth, the NASA Johnson Space Center, which last September celebrated 50 years of exploring outer space and performing vital research here on Earth. And six, Larry, our modern airport system, offering 120 domestic and 72 international destinations, and clearly functioning as the air gateway to the South Central United States and Latin America. As chairman of GHP, I intend to double down in support of policies that promote and protect our crown jewels. But I'd also like to make sure we effectively support our next generation of crown jewels, which include efforts that improve our region's quality of life. For example, through the Bio Greenway Initiative, GHP supports the development of a world-class linear parks and trail system along our 10 major bio arteries. These efforts must continue. We must improve our vital assets. That's part of the job of being chairman of the Greater Houston Partnership. So too is representing Houston before our elected leaders, including our leaders in Washington, to advocate for critical regional issues like the Keystone Pipeline. So too is being an economic ambassador for Houston on international trade missions. So too is campaigning for Houston at every opportunity. I pledge to you that in the year ahead, I will do all in my power to help Houston get the recognition it deserves as a great world-class city. Greater, global, and growing. There are 4 policy areas to which I plan to devote special attention in 2012, and I'd like to tell you about them. They will make our global and growing city even greater. These 4 policy areas are education, transportation, small business, and making Houston the natural gas capital of the world. Let me say just a few words on how I propose to address each. First, education. I've heard Houston's business leaders say Houston has a brilliant future, provided that we have an educated workforce to sustain our economic growth. Let me tell you why I believe this goal is attainable. In Houston, we believe in a meritocracy. We work hard, and we have historically taken risk to benefit our economy and our communities. We are a generous region, filled with nonprofits and churches that tirelessly work to help those less fortunate. And I believe we're an honest region, able to clearly identify our biggest challenges. But we simply cannot deny that success is directly related to obtaining a superior education. The consequences of having a poorly educated workforce are dire. Our 43rd President of the United States, George W. Bush, yes, Patrick, I am quoting George W. Bush, warned that we cannot allow the soft bigotry of low expectations to determine our future. As a region, Houston has proved we can handle the tough issues, that we can make tough choices and establish needed reforms, all at the same time. Why can't we do the same in the critical area of education policy? GHP is on record as supporting essential pre-K and K through 12 programs. Also highly effective teachers, low student-teacher ratios, and age-appropriate curricula based on sound educational research. One of my goals for education this year, and Larry Kellner will stay and chair education, is to work with the Texas legislature during the interim to devise a financially responsible path forward. We need to support and strengthen programs to help African American and Hispanic American students who make up a growing percentage of our student population. We need increased support for programs to get students interested in math and science at an early age. We need high-performing teachers, engaged parents, and effective administrators. No exceptions, no excuses. My fellow Houstonians, we are at the forefront of a transformational effort to radically rethink public education in Houston. With HISD's Apollo 20 program, KIP, and the YES schools, the future of education will come out of Houston. From these efforts, we will produce groundbreaking results that allow progressive and conservative thoughts to converge, putting real meaning behind equal opportunity for all, providing a fair playing field for our meritocracy. Let's all work together without political bickering to ensure that the Houston region has the educated workforce we need for our future. My second priority is transportation. Houston's a great city, but you can't have a world-class city with gridlock. The Texas Transportation Institute says congestion on our roads means that Houston commuters are stuck in traffic 56 hours a year, more than one entire week for many of us. And because time is money, traffic delays impose a huge congestion tax of over $1,000 on every Houstonian. We must cut the congestion, especially since Houston's population will double in the next 20 years. In 2012, GHP will support local bond issues for transportation improvements to help ease traffic congestion. On a federal level, I want to ensure that Houston gets its fair share of federal funding for highway improvement and light rail expansion. That means, in part, asking Congress to pass a long-term surface transportation bill that continues to invest in our nation's infrastructure. Last year, Houston received a $900 million grant from the Federal Transit Administration to fund Metro's light rail expansion projects throughout the Houston area. This achievement was due in large part to the people in this room, including our colleagues George and Gilbert at Metro. In addition to working on our ground transportation needs, we must secure appropriate federal funding for the region's ports through the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund to address our immediate needs and prepare for the opening of the bigger, wider Panama Canal that Judge Mosley earlier mentioned. It represents an incredible opportunity for the Houston region. Port projections indicate that the new, wider lanes of the canal will double the traffic coming into the port, positioning our port to become one of the 3 busiest in the world. The wider lanes will also increase traffic to other area ports in Galveston, Freeport, and Texas City. My third priority is small business. Like many of you and me, my father was a small businessman and entrepreneur. Small business is the mainspring of the free enterprise system. It is the component that keeps our economic system ticking. It's also a major source of new jobs and new ideas. 97% of the businesses in the greater Houston area are classified as small businesses, and their number is growing rapidly. Last month, the Houston Business Journal released a study based on U.S. Census data that only 3 major markets in the U.S. added small businesses between 2008 and 2009. All 3 markets were in Texas: Houston, Austin, and McAllen-Edinburgh. And Houston has more than twice as many small businesses as the other 2 markets combined. The Greater Houston Partnership is proud that more than 2/3 of its members, our members, are small businesses. We are proud of the opportunities that we afford our small business members for networking, personal growth, and business development. I plan to do more to assist and support small business owners. In 2012, GHP will launch the Small Business Resource Center, an online hub filled with unique resources, discounts, and program assistance to address the needs of small businesses and help them grow. I plan to lead the charge for small business at the local, state, and federal levels of government. I intend to support policies that help small businesses grow and prosper, and to oppose policies that hinder their development. My final priority is to make Houston the natural gas capital of the world. Houston's already positioned as the energy capital of the world. But this country is on the cusp of a natural gas revolution. Just a few years ago, it was widely believed that U.S. natural gas production had peaked and was in decline. Then, with help from Houston businessman George Mitchell, fracking enabled natural gas trapped deep within underground rock formations to be released to the surface. Texas is now the largest producer in the nation, as well as consumer, of natural gas. Texas provides 1/4 of the U.S. supply and consumes 1/6 of its production. The Greater Houston Partnership recognizes that promotion of the oil and natural gas industry in a safe and environmentally responsible manner is critical for statewide economic and employment growth and our national energy security. GHP's most recent legislative agenda strongly supports measures that promote the expanded use of natural gas in Texas. We recognize that this will lead to lower cost, new investments, and the stimulation of employment opportunities. As you may be aware, there are also active shale deposits in several other parts of the United States. For this reason, Houston needs to remain the center of the natural gas industry to maintain our competitive advantage. Houston has the leadership, workforce, educational resources, and technology crucial to the natural gas business. Pursuing the right policies will ultimately make Houston the natural gas capital of the world. So these are my priorities as your chairman for 2012. Before we conclude, let me just say this. Whatever challenges Houston faces, we can meet them. We have the brain power, the business savvy, the financial resources, and the entrepreneurial genius to sustain our greatness. We have an educated and committed workforce. We have a dynamic economy. When the Great Recession hit, we were last in and first out. We have a rich cultural diversity and a high quality of life. We are greater, global, and growing. We are more than a great American city. Houston can and will be duly recognized as one of the great regions in the world. As your new chairman, I pledge you my own best effort to achieve this goal. I hope you will join me in this effort. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.